Bespoke radio for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
I need your help to get to the year 1985.
You're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Yeah. Fade to Black. Bespoke radio for the masses. How you doing? Today's Wednesday, July 26th. 206 days into the new year, just 159 days left. We are live from a bunker somewhere in downtown Burbank, California. And I would like to welcome everybody listening all around the world, all across the United States. Hither and thither, to and fro, back and forth, up and down, east and west, north and south, far and near. This is Fade to Black for KJCR, the Game Changer Network, and KGRA, the planet. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. What is cracking, everybody? How you doing? Hump Day. It's Wednesday. Tonight is the next in a two-part series with Ken Knutson and Peter Cameron of Divergent Unity. And tonight, it's part 2 with Peter. Tomorrow night is another Fader Night with John Rappaport and his No More Fake Newsroom Live, followed by open lines all night long. The call-in numbers are 323-825-5045 or 323-275-9695. You can follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio, Facebook, YouTube. Everything is Fade to Black, JChurch Radio. You know what to do. Go follow, like, and subscribe. Just head right over to the website right there. You can click on all three. The sandbox is hashtag F2B on Twitter. Come and join the conversation. If you have any questions or comments during the show tonight, hashtag F2BQ. You can also email throughout the show, Jimmy at jimmychurchradio.com. All right. Subscribe to our podcast. We have over 695 archive shows. Apps are Apple, Android, everything, all platforms, just $2 a month. Click on the podcast banner over on the website. Also, you can become an official Fadernaut in our membership section. You get the Bunker Cam, commercial-free, downloadable archives. You can even elevate yourself all the way up to the Game Changer, and you get yourself an autographed hat, T-shirt, all that stuff. And don't forget to check out all of our sponsors on this show: Life Change Tea, GetTheTea.com, River Moon Coffee, New Pharma, Ancient Life Oil, and Studio Dome speakers. You know, and what's really great about our sponsors, it's a family affair here. It's a family affair. They've been with us for a long time. So please support the show. Visit our sponsors. We only have the best work with us here. That's it. It's a family. So support the show, help change your life, do the right thing. Go and visit all of our sponsors. With Life Change Tea right now, GetTheTea.com. They have a new promo code. It is FADER, F-A-D-E-R, just for you. Get yourself free shipping. Promo code FADER. Okay? All right? River Moon Coffee. I think all of the promo codes are right there in the banners, but River Moon Coffee is F2B Blend. New Pharma is F2B, you know, the number 2, F2B. Studio Dome speakers. Oh, I can't remember what the Studio Dome speaker, but it's there in their banner. Let's get this show cracking. We got a lot to do tonight. Very excited about part 2 tonight. Happy birthday to Mick Jagger. Mick Jagger. You got to laugh, right? 74 years old. They did a press release a couple of days ago. Keith Richards came out and said, you know what? We may be old, but we have got an album's worth of new material, and we're going to crank one more out. So expect a new album by the Stones very shortly. Queen stickman Roger Taylor today is 68. Kevin Spacey, K-Pac, is 58. And Helen Mirren today is 72. Our dead guy's birthday today is Stanley Kubrick, 1929 to 1999, died at the age of 70. Of course, iconic director, cinematographer, screenwriter. And he excelled across a number of genres. You know, he did it all. He did everything. But he covered sci-fi with 2001: A Space Odyssey, of course, horror with The Shining, a futuristic detective mystery in A Clockwork Orange, comedy with Dr. Strangelove, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb. He is widely considered, if not the most influential filmmaker of all time. Happy birthday today to Stanley, 70 years old. On this day in history, OTD, 1947, Truman signs the National Security Act. Yes, it happened on this day in 1947. Of course, everything happened in 1947. But yeah, creating the Department of Defense, the National Security Council, and the CIA. Fader fact. Here's another one. Write this down, folks. A coal-fired power station puts out 100 times more radiation into the air than a nuclear power plant producing the same amount of energy. And that is a Fader fact. Tonight, very special guest, part 2 in our series with Ken Knutson and Peter Cameron of Divergent Divergent Unity University. Same thing, actually. And tonight, it's part 2 with Peter. So buckle up. I am so ready for this. Tomorrow night is another Fader Night with John Rappaport, and there's no more Fake Newsroom Live, followed by Open Lines. Okay. Sometimes I just got to let it all hang out. I'm about to right now. So here we go, kids. Stephen Hawking. Rita and I were walking. We landed at Burbank Airport a couple of weeks ago, and we're walking through Burbank, and we come out to this little luggage area. And I said, that's where it happened right there. That's where I met Stephen Hawking, you know. Really, and you kind of look around there because Burbank Airport's very small, and they only have this one luggage area for all of the airlines, and it's literally like 10 yards wide, and it's just a small little area. And she's like, "Yeah, it happened right here." Yeah, and I like the guy, right? I do, but he's also a little hypocritical. Let me explain. Breakthrough Starshot, the Stephen Hawking-backed initiative to look for aliens in the nearby Alpha Centauri star system, announced today it had pulled off its first ever successful space flight. Not that anyone would easily notice, by the way, because the tiny test probes that just went into space measured just 3.5 by 3.5 centimeters. And only weigh 4 grams. Now, there are pictures up on our Facebook page. You can check it out. So it's a little circuit board, right? 3.5 centimeters. So it's like 2 inches, two by 2. The successful test happened late last month when Breakthrough Starshot launched a series of what it calls sprites, the smallest functional space probes ever designed, which comprise of a single circuit board, and they launch these things into low Earth orbit. Now, although half the size of a Post-it note. The sprites possess an array of solar panels for energy, computer sensors to collect and process data, and radio instruments to send signals back to scientists on Earth. And the picture that we have up, you know what? I'm going to do this in TweetDeck right now. Let me get this launched here. I'm just going to call this Sprite, everybody. The complexity of what's going on is pretty astounding. So look at this image here. I've just tweeted it out. There it is. Check out the image. So you have a radio, you have a gyroscope, right? You have a magnetometer, you have solar cells, you have the microcontroller, of course, and you've got antennas all on this little chip. That's the satellite. That's the Sprite. That's what's getting launched into space, right? Pretty cool. Now, these sprites, as they are calling them, are the first steps towards the development of, and as everybody's noticing, I just unplugged my headphones. So let me plug those back in. The sprites are going to be star chips, nanocraft capable of traveling the 4.37 light years to Alpha Centauri to look for signs of extraterrestrial life and the planetary habitability within the binary star system. Now, the goal is to improve the design so the team can fit decent scientific instruments onto a single ultra-small chip that can be flown into space. All the nanocraft will be able to do this is, when they do this, they're going to be able to take a few pictures of the star system as they zoom by, and they will be going incredibly fast, by the way. The star chip design is propelled using a solar sail, which pushes the probes into the far reaches of deep space at 1/5 the speed of light. It's still unclear whether this laser-driven technology is actually possible to build and operate, among other big questions about the feasibility of the mission. Right? So they want to fire lasers either from a satellite or from Earth at these, look how small it is, at the solar sails and get this thing going to Alpha Centauri, right? Okay, if it's successful, it means that hundreds or even thousands of these little cheap nanocraft can be launched towards Alpha Centauri and its exoplanet Proxima b and look for signs of life. Proxima b is the latest exoplanet that we have found, and it's the one happens to be closest to us. And the astronomy community has been very optimistic about the potential of Alpha Centauri to being a habitable world. Not only for humans, but for extraterrestrials. Now, Hawking has said we shouldn't be out there letting ET know that we're here. Right? We shouldn't do that, because if we do, we don't know what their intentions are, and they just may come and take this from us. It could end very badly. But yet, with Yuri Milner, he has decided to go ahead and back this and get these little nanochips out with solar sails to Alpha Centauri. I'm all for it. But it seems a little hypocritical, doesn't it? I mean, just stay on message, whatever the message is. I think these should be shot. We should definitely shoot these things towards Alpha Centauri. Proxima b, it's the closest planet to us, closest star to us. We need to knock this out. We do. But it's not really the first interstellar program to be in place. I don't know if you know what I'm about to lay on you, but listen to me. Do you remember Pioneer 10? Pioneer 10. That's my River Moon coffee going down the wrong pipe. Pioneer 10 and Pioneer 11 both carry gold anodized aluminum plaques in the event that either spacecraft is ever found by intelligent life forms from other planetary systems. The plaques feature the nude figures of a human male and female, along with several symbols that are designed to provide information about where we are, right? Where planet Earth is. And it's all right there, and it's laid out. On February 17th, 1998, Voyager, and there's Voyager 1 and Voyager 2, Voyager overtook Pioneer 10 as the most distant spacecraft from Earth. Right? You remember Voyager 1 and Voyager 2. Voyager 2 will reach interstellar space sometime in either late 2019 or early 2020. Now, the way that they were launched out of the solar system, one was in a circular orbit, and one was in a longer elliptical orbit. Voyager 1 got out first. Back in 2012, officially verified in 2013. But they don't actually know, but we're going with 2012. Right? Now, it's going to reach a similar distance from the sun as Voyager 1 did when it crossed into interstellar space, back around 2012. Voyager 1 will reach the Oort cloud in about 300 years and take about 30,000 years to pass through it. The Oort cloud where they think comets come from, right? Don't even really know if it actually exists, but nonetheless, or where comets come from, that's a whole other story. Though it is not heading towards any particular star. Hawking, with his chipset and how he envisions this, they are going straight at Alpha Centauri. Okay, they're going straight for it. We don't know. Now, when it comes to Voyager 1, and I'm going to get back to Pioneer 10 and 11 in just a second. It's going to take 30,000 years to pass through the Oort cloud. And it's not even heading towards any particular star. Still communicating with Earth, by the way, right now. But in about 40,000 years, 40,000 years, it will pass within 1.6 light years of the star Gliese 445. 40,000 years. Voyager 2 is not headed towards any particular star either. Although in roughly 40,000 years, it should pass 1.7 light years from the star Ross 248. And if undisturbed for 296,000 years, Voyager 2 should pass by the star Sirius at a distance of 4.3 light years. Voyager 2 is expected to keep transmitting weak radio messages until at least, are you ready? 2025. That's it. Over 48 years after it was first launched. All four, now this is, just wrap your head around this. All four, Pioneers 10 and 11, Voyager 1 and 2, are heading in four different directions away from our solar system. Now, picture our solar system. Just lay it out, all the planets with the sun in the middle and the Earth, right? Flat disk, the solar system. So, not quite north, south, east, and west, because there isn't, but the four are going out in four different directions. Heading out into nothing. Pioneers 10 and 11, Pioneer 11 was shut down in like 1995, 1996. All of the spacecraft, for one reason, satellites, whatever you want to call them, probes, all of them have had different software glitches, different issues, thermometer issues, overheating issues. Some have been overcome, some haven't. Pioneer 11 and Pioneer 10 are just out. Now it's just space debris, and they're heading out. They're all traveling just about the same speed. New Horizons, the latest that we have shot out there, was when it left Earth, was the fastest spacecraft ever flown. Okay, but it is actually slowing down, and this is what's really crazy. The third stage booster of New Horizons has already passed Pluto. Right, it's heading out to the Kuiper Belt. It beat New Horizons out of the solar system. But it is not under any controlled flight. It's just spinning. But it is an object from planet Earth that has also left the solar system. New Horizons is on it's got a new mission, and it's got some other things that are planned. They're extending things, but it's eventually going to split too as well. So we'll have a total of 6. 5 that kind of means something. 1 is a third stage booster that is just spinning and taking off. But nonetheless, it's man-made. It came from Earth. But what if, now remember, all 4 of these, well, soon to be 5 and actually 6, are all heading in different directions, right? They're all heading out. What if something alien encounters them? Once you get beyond the Kuiper Belt, first off, the sun takes so long to get to you, 19, 20 hours if you're just out at the Kuiper Belt. 20 hours it takes for the sun. So there's nothing to reflect off of. There's nothing that we are going to see with a telescope, right? Including something else like a meteor or Planet X. It's so far out beyond the sun, there's nothing to reflect back, right? There's no light getting to it. Now, that being said, if an alien spacecraft is out there and it's cruising through space, and it just so happens in one of these trajectories, happens across this, and they catch up to it and grab it, then what? Think about that. It's something else to look at a 40,000-year flyby, right, of Ross, or a 40,000-year flyby, 289,000 years going by Sirius, and the distance between Sirius and Voyager is the same distance as from us to Alpha Centauri, 4.7 light years. Now, what if very, very close to our solar system, where these are right now, all of these objects, something does a flyby, sees something cruising through space, wondering what it is, they pick it up with their sensors and their technology. I would not use the word radar, but you get the idea. And they go and they collect it. Everything that Stephen Hawking has been talking about, it's opened up, right? Now, do we want that? And the other part of it is, would we know it if it happened? We wouldn't see necessarily any alien spacecraft intercepting this. It's out. It's beyond light. It's beyond everything. And it could be very, very small, too, as well. So if we flip it back over and what Hawking is doing, it's the same thing. And potentially now, thousands. What would that look like to E.T. on their, air quotes, radar? Right? So they go up. Obviously, it's a cloud of something. There's something going on. There's, hundreds of these things flying by in the same direction. Let's go check those out. And they see the lasers on the solar sails coming from Earth. Is that what we want? I'm saying according to Hawking. Not according to me. I think that they know exactly where we are. But it sounds and feels like it's a little hypocritical. When we have Pioneer 10, Pioneer 11, Voyager 1, Voyager 2, and soon to be New Horizons, and the New Horizons third stage, all leaving the solar system, heading out in different directions, we're doing exactly that. I don't know what it's like to go out and have a 360-degree view of a galaxy and what it takes to detect space debris and micrometeorites and things that can hit your spacecraft, or if you've got a force field to block that. Are you concerned with things going on out there? I would think that you are. And I would think that you are able to track anything And we now are truly interstellar. And if you haven't thought about us being that in those terms, you need to rethink exactly where we are with technology. We have shot man-made objects into interstellar space. Think about that for a second and really contemplate where we are. I say it so often, and I really, really, really mean this. We are on the verge of being able to do whatever we want. You think it up, and we can do it. We actually have the technology to get it done. And we're young. E.T. is doing exactly what we are doing. So, do they know that we're here? Of course. Are we definitely letting them know we are here? Sure. Are we letting them know where we are in technology? Absolutely. I'm going to leave you with this. And I was thinking about this earlier today. It's one thing when we picture Independence Day with these huge craft coming over and surrounding the Earth and Dyson sphere and this advanced technology and taking things over. We are shooting circuit boards across space, right? Circuit boards. Think about that. I mean, all of our cards are dealt, right? Think about that. All right, this is Fade to Black. In just a second, clearing the way for Peter Cameron, Divergent Unity. Part 2 tonight. Very excited about this. We're going to be talking about all of this and a whole lot more. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network and KGRA, The Planet. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Email is jimmy@jimmychurchradio.com. I'll be right back with our guest, Peter Cameron. Stay right there.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Fade to Black will now pause for alien identification.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio. When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Yes, Rivermoon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Teppy.
Hi, folks. Let's wind the clocks back 60 years. Food was different. Food provided health and nutrition, and using supplements was minimal. Unfortunately, now we have chemicals, GMOs, herbicides, and pesticides that can be quite lethal in the name of our food supply and, of course, the ever-loving dollar. Supplementing our diets can be very important to stay healthy. Cleansing from daily intruders to the body might be critical. Live strong and take charge. Log on to getthetea.com. Our herbal tea is a great way to cleanse from intruders. Our supplements is a great way to maintain and improve your health. When your health is not up to par, go to getthetea.com. No GMOs, no fillers, and organic, and very helpful in keeping you at the top of your game. Life is too short to feel, you know what I mean. Stay in the game, at the top of your game with getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. Again, getthetea.com.
9 out of 10 geneticists agree.
Fade to Black is not your father's radio show on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, The Planet.
Win big with KGRA this summer. Tickets and hotel accommodations to the biggest conferences, autographed books and DVDs, chances to win all-inclusive conference cruises, and private dinners with your favorite KGRA hosts. Click the contest tab at kgraradio.com for your chance to win big this summer. Your contact for the best alternative talk radio on the planet. kgraradio.com.
Hi, this is Rob Reiner from Anvil, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
What's up? I'm Chris. What up? This is Kyle Massey, and you're listening to Jimmy Church Radio.
All right, welcome back, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Network and KGRA, The Planet. You can follow me right now on Twitter at JChurchRadio. You can follow Divergent Unity at Divergent Unity. It's right there in Twitter as well. Tonight is the second in our two-part series with Ken Knutson and Peter Cameron of Divergent Unity. Tonight, it's part 2 with Peter. Tomorrow night is Fader Night with John Rappaport and his No More Fake Newsroom Live, followed by Open Lines. Call-in numbers are 323-825-5045 or 323-275-9695. Maybe we'll have some time to open up the phones here in just a bit. Peter Cameron is an architect. He's an innovator, teacher, developer. Peter is someone who pushes the boundaries on every thought. Never afraid to challenge the normality of existence and provide solutions to the most pressing problems in existence. Humanity has called, and Peter has answered. The website is divergentunity.oy2k.com. The links are over at jimmychurchradio.com. Good evening, Peter. I got a little tongue-tied on your website. It's a tough one, man, your website address.
Yeah. It's we're actually in the middle of putting out our new one, but until then, we still have the old one. It's a tongue twister.
Yeah. Before we even get started, why the OY2K? What happened there? Was it an accident?
No, you know what? It was Ken's old site that he was using for his a lot of his stuff. I actually don't know what it is.
Okay, see, there you go. That's the most honest answer I've heard on this show in a long time. Welcome to the program, my friend. And before we get started, I got to lay out the first-time guest disclaimer, which is very simple. It's just you and I sitting on my couch talking as friends. Where we start, we start. Where we end, we end. But we're going to end as friends. Are you ready to go?
I'm sure ready.
Where did you get your start in all of this? Have you seen a UFO in the sky as a child? Were your parents out of control and open-minded and let you do whatever you want willy-nilly? How did you land here?
Wow. Yeah, what a kind of a loaded question. And I guess it started at a poolside, Ken and I meeting about a year ago, actually. But I guess the reason why it made possible was just you talked to Ken last night, and so we talk a lot about this divergent thinking type of thing, right? And maybe growing up outside of the system, all of that sort of thing. So I guess that's how I got my start. Is I was one of those people who, for better or worse, grew up outside of the system, and that gives you an interesting perspective on the way the world operates. And as you get older and you start to accumulate knowledge and experience and all of that sort of thing, things start to kind of blend, and you start to piece things together. And I I was one of those kids, never been diagnosed with any kind of disorder or ADHD or any of that sort of thing, learning disability, but I certainly have my fair share of all of that. But it was just never something that was ever looked at or diagnosed with me. But it certainly kept me at odds with school, and actually the education system is a big part of what I bring to all of this, and a big part of my experience in all of that. And so for me, it was one of these kind of stumbling through growing up and stumbling through the education system, not really having a time or place for learning and all that sort of stuff that the system's really trying to plug you into. And so I ended up out of high school and didn't really know what to do, and then found my way into college and absolutely bombed because I had no idea how to learn, because I never really paid attention. And so I decided, you know what, I'm going to try to learn how to learn here. So I, again, being one of these kind of divergent thinking minds, kind of natively, it was one of these things. I grab onto something and I just go and hyper focus and get it done. So hour after hour, day after day, in the floor 9 of the library at the college, University of Waterloo, and that's where it kind of began. And
was there one moment, Peter, where you went, okay, I'm being lied to, or the world is not what I am being told? Did you have that aha moment? What was it? I really did, and that's where this education piece blends in. So a couple of degrees later, I decided, I'm still not working, I'm not sure what I want to do. Is working construction jobs, this sort of thing. Never felt like I was an adult, really, and growing up and being a professional and all this sort of thing. So kind of stumbling along, and then a friend of mine said, you should really just go to teacher's college and get it over with. And so I did that, and I was so excited. It sounded like this was the right fit. It made sense, because for me, it's always been this passion of mine to help kids. I've always been great with kids. And so it just seemed to kind of make sense. Yes, okay, I can make a difference. You get into the system and you start going through the teacher's college programming, and it just crumbled. The bottom fell absolutely right out, and I realized that exactly what you said. This is all a sham. There's no value here. What you're teaching teachers how to do is not to educate students or children. It's to keep them plugged into the system. And so that's where it began for me. I survived that grueling year by the skin of my teeth because I kept poking the bear, as it were. And so for me, that's where it began. This big endeavor into, wow, so the education system isn't quite what we always thought it was. And as we go along, I can probably give you some interesting insights into that. But that's kind of how it started for me. I don't know where things started to go wrong with that. I do remember. Today when you hear college students say, I need a safe space. I'm freaking out right now. It's like, dude, this is the real world here. What do you mean safe space? Who is teaching you this? Safe space is for 5-year-olds. You're about to go out and get a job and go out there and kick life's butt, and you want a safe space at the age of 21, please. And so I remember. Now, this was back in 1981, and I remember we had a gathering, and it was the dean or the principal of the school, or whatever, was talking to us, and says the most profound words that you could ever say to somebody that's 18, right, getting ready to graduate high school. He goes, "Okay, this is the start of the rest of your life, and it's a tough world out there. And nobody's going to save you but yourself. So go to college and get ready to go and do it. Or don't go to college and just go out there and get ready to do it. But it's all on you from this day forward. And I was like, wow. And it like hit me, just slapped me, right? You know what I mean? That's what that mentality is definitely missing today. They don't teach that in school anymore. That curriculum is out, no doubt about it. And so I can only imagine, what it's like today when I hear all of these things with our school system about the preparation for life. It is not even close to what reality is.
Yeah, and I mean, even forgetting teachers, but just as parents, right? Talk to any parent of a teenager these days, and it's pretty bleak. But to send a 17-year-old off to last year of high school, and I'm not sure how she makes it out the door every day without some terrible thing happening. Just that there's no survival skills. There's no real world kind of knowledge. It's really just, like you said, it's the safe space. It's the making everything balanced and equal and
fair.
I mean,
fair.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's if the world is like that, great. Then we're doing a great job. But
yeah,
we know that
it's so funny because at the age of 21, 22, and you get a degree, and suddenly you have rights. You know what? You don't. You know what you got the right to do? Go get a job. That's what
yeah.
And start saving for your parents' retirement because they brought you here. So why don't you go I mean, all right, enough of that. That's my comedy routine, and you can come see me Friday nights. Try the veal. So, yeah, I know exactly where you're coming from there. And when the bottom falls out, then what do? I mean, what were your choices at that point?
Yeah, so I mean, for me, just I've always been one of these kind of firecrackers. I just positivist, really kind of go-getting, and so for me, I've found my niche. I found my calling card, as it were, and I started to. So the thing to know about me, one of the things I learned young is you can't fight the system. Well, you can. And I can give you reams and reams of evidence of what happens. And so the education system is no different from these other systems that everybody often talks about.
Right.
It's really not necessarily a matter of trying to fight that system. It's trying to be creative in your approach. So for me, it was a matter of, if my goal is to get these kids educated, if my goal is to give them the skills and the tools so that they can go out into the real world, whatever that looks like in the future, because this is one of these kind of memes that teachers roll around these days, is that we're educating students because of the way that technology is rapidly increasing our capacities, etc. We're teaching them we're preparing them for jobs that don't actually exist yet. That sort of idea. So we get into this system thinking like that, and you just have to be creative. And so I started to just do just that, because it's all about those kids. I had a bunch of administration hurdles. You have a whole bunch of teacher issues because you've got a lot of people. I mean, the mass of people who are designated as teachers. I mean, in Canada, it's the population differences are pretty large, but the ratio is still about the same. There's massive amounts of teachers out there, and there is probably, we talked about this 80-20 rule. There's probably 80% of them who love their job. They love teaching the kids. They love their paycheck. They love their pension. Canada teachers are, I believe, they have the best pension in the country.
As they should.
I'm not sure how that is in the U.S., but
right.
And they're hard workers, but they're not being educated very well on how to teach these kids for the real world. So that's where I started plugging myself into this and seeing how I can make a difference. So I get into technology, and I get into tinkering around, trying to see what kids like, what they don't like, how we can get teachers thinking in different ways and more creative ways, and that's kind of the entry point into virtual worlds, and which kind of is a segue into what we're up to these days.
So you learned to write code.
I did, yep. And again, one of these kind of self-taught things. I didn't go to school for it, but I was given an opportunity to start a company that allowed me to do just that. It was basically, if you could create an education platform that would actually that could help give kids the tools that they need, given the climate with the technology the way it is, and given the fact that teachers are insufficiently trained, et cetera, what would you do? What would that look like? So I spent 5-6 years doing that.
Can you write code well? Are you one of those K-lock guys? Just cranking out thousands of lines of code.
I'm not. I'm not. I work with game development software, and so there's specific programming languages that are used there, and I'm pretty proficient, but I in no way would consider myself an expert at code. I mean, I've worked with some guys who just blow me out of the water with the skill sets that these guys have, and their capacity for coding and so on and so forth. But I know what I need to do it, to get things done. But for me, it's really more of that kind of architectural stance where I can envision what needs to be done, and we make it happen.
Now, I want to talk a little bit about the paranormal and the supernatural, too, as well, because there is this aspect to what you guys are doing. Have you had any supernatural or paranormal experiences?
Myself? Well, I've had some strange incidents, sure, with... But really, I consider myself the everyman. I consider myself the guy who sits in his chair and plays video games or takes his kids out to the ball games and things like that. Like, for me, I'm coming at this as not somebody who is an expert in any of these kind of esoteric fields or otherwise. I'm learning all sorts of stuff about ET and disclosure and history, all sorts of stuff, which is awesome. That's amazing stuff. But for me, it's really this architectural piece and this educational framework piece that
and so I'm not asking, I want you to understand, I'm not asking because I want to validate. I'm asking for the audience to know exactly who they are listening to right now. So you have an open mind, you've been awakened, but have you seen anything strange in the sky?
Yeah, so part of my journey is I've had a few spiritual awakenings.
Yes.
And I wouldn't call them Kundalini awakenings or anything like that, but they, for me, these big epiphany moments where I was imbued with all sorts of knowledge in a really short period of time that allowed me to kind of do things that I needed to get done. And so, there's a large kind of spiritual growth component for me. In my journey along, because imagine, and this is where we get into this later, why this is important for what we're doing, the work we're doing. Imagine taking somebody from the outer reaches of the planet and trying to train them on how to not only work in the system, but overcome the system and then help others to do the same thing.
Right.
So all of the kind of experiences that go along there, I know that it's clear to me that I've been guided this whole way, and I've had quite a few kind of incidents where it was made very clear to me that, don't give up. This is actually the path you need to be taking, even though you love to take detours. We'll get you back on track. And so, as I was saying at the beginning, this brings me to about a year ago where Ken and I just happened to meet. We just happened to live a block away from each other.
Right.
And we started talking, and we're doing very similar things in our paths, and that's where we're at.
How did that discussion take place? I mean, obviously this is a very ambitious project, and if you're going to if he's going to come and talk to you about it, you just don't start at the end of the conversation and hope for the best.
Yeah. So how are the kids? Oh, you want to help save humanity?
Right. Today. Right.
Yeah, exactly. So it really started with, we were talking about what we did, our jobs. And it so happened that the project that I was working on, the software product that I developed, was something that he was looking into for a certain component for the re-education kind of model or whatever you want to call it. And so it was that momentary, whoa, you mean you're that guy? And then so it kind of started with that. Well, what are you doing? What are you planning on doing with this software, et cetera, et cetera? Next thing you know, we start talking about systems, and as you know full well, it just kind of goes from there, right? The conversation just plummets or dives deep or whatever.
And was it kind of synchronicity? Was it one of those moments? Because did you get it? It sounds like you were ready for this.
Exactly. That's a really good point. It was really I had been on this path to get the tools I needed to build the experiences that I obviously needed to have to get to this point where May 2006, I meet up with Mr. Ken Knudsen, and I guess what happened for me was it was a simple question that he had asked. He said, "Are you willing to take what you're doing and plug it into a larger system, into for a global kind of humanitarian endeavor?" And that's really important because this is the same question that we, for the last year, have been asking other people,
right,
that we meet along the way, because it's the same thing. You're doing amazing things. You're building this. You're channeling that. You're what have you. Are you willing to take that skill or that talent, that experience, and plug it into something larger for this kind of purpose that we get into with them? So, yeah, so it was definitely a synchronous experience. I mean, we haven't stopped since. It's many walks, just because, again, we live a block away, so it's oh, hey, going for a walk, okay, let's go, and 3 hours later, and our whiteboard sessions are historical moments in themselves.
Yeah, I can only imagine. And you guys have made extraordinary strides. Your look is really cool. The message is right there. Your multimedia stuff that you guys are putting together is great. You've got a great facility, right? You've got all of the pieces to the puzzle right there and ready to go, and it's exciting times. But what's going to make you guys succeed where it seems like hundreds, if not thousands, have failed in the past with going global with this when they also had the very best of intentions of changing humanity?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it sounds quite simplistic, but I guess leading up to it, it's not. And staring at it in the face is kind of a difficult task as well, but it really is simple matter of being able to pull yourself out of far enough. So, okay, let me just give you an example from, the educational set. There's a book out there. It's called Zoom. It's a real simple picture book for young kids, just to give them this idea of perspective. So the first picture is this big kind of red blob. This on the first page, and then you flip the page, and you can see that red blob was actually the top of the I don't know what it's called, the top of the rooster. I don't know what that thing's called, but that flappy thing on top of the rooster. And you can see that it's a picture of a rooster. And then you turn the page, and that picture of the rooster is now actually framed on a wall, and you can see the wall on the other side of the room. And then you zoom out again, the next page, and all of a sudden you're in the farmhouse. You can see through the window into the house, and at the other side of the house is the room with the picture, et cetera, et cetera. And this thing zooms out probably 40 pages, and we're into outer space. And it's just really an interesting take on this idea of perspective. And truly, in as simple way as I can say it, that is the difference maker. Is if you can, and there's very specific ways to do it, if you can pull yourself far enough out, if you can zoom far enough out, you can make it to a point where you are kind of looking at it, and we call it systems thinking, or I like to call it the snow globe, right? If you can pull yourself out of your snow globe, that's where it starts to happen for you. And I can point to thousands upon thousands, just like you had said, of people who are doing amazing things, but they only have one piece, or maybe they have three pieces. And it's interesting because it's something you had mentioned in the show last night about no one single person knows everything. That's pretty much a given.
Doesn't exist, right.
But if you can take the perspective of this kind of systems thinking perspective, this debugger mentality that Ken had brought up a few times, or quite a lot last night, it's this perspective, and for me, it's this culmination of all of these experiences that I've had over my life, and that's just kind of culminated to a point where I was able to do that quite easily. And I know I'm not the only person out there. It's just for me, and for people like me, it comes more naturally, right? So that's my skill set. I'm not clairvoyant. I don't have all sorts of other abilities, but what I can do is I can pull myself out of that system and look at it from outside of the snow globe.
Let's take a break right here, Peter, and when we come back, we'll pick up right here with snow globes, because it's the best place to start. Let's do that. Tonight, our guest, Peter Cameron, part 2 of Divergent Unity. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. You can follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. You can follow Divergent Unity on Twitter at Divergent Unity. I'll be right back.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station, Salt Lake City, Utah, Van Buren, Arkansas.
Hello, I'm Katie, and you're listening to my main man, Jimmy Church, on jimmychurchradio.com.
Hi, this is Ray Hobbs here, repping the planet, and you're listening to my good friend, Jimmy Church, Fade to Black, on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA Digital Broadcast Station.
This is Toby Kebbell. You're listening to jimmychurchradio.com. Don't hurt me, Jimmy. I'm only little.
Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier. And this is Ari Gold. We're the Honey Brothers. Yes. We are of the Honey Brothers. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And I'm Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers.
And you're listening to Jimmy Church.
The Revolution.
Ancient Life Oil. Life-changing, the real oil. CBD is truly ancient life oil from the source. This oil has no psychoactive effect and is also legal in all 50 states. When you're healthy, you're happy. The truth about this wonderful plant is that it wants to give back to mankind life, longevity, and happiness. Ancient Life Oil are golden grade, all organic, non-GMO, and infused with high-quality liquid coconut oil. It's simple. Just go to ancientlifeoil.com today. That's ancientlifeoil.com. The best, purest, organic, and non-GMO CBD in the world. Go Beckley Tappy. The statements made regarding these products have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Please consult your healthcare professional about potential interactions or other possible complications before using any product. What's up, Fadernauts? Studio Dome loves Fade to Black and the F2B audience so much that they have put together the ultimate stereo Bluetooth system. They've done it just for you. Man, check this out. The Studio Dome SBB2 stereo system is here. It's featuring 2 Studio Boombox 2 SBB2 wireless Bluetooth speakers, packed in its own custom hardshell case. This Studio Dome system features the very latest in stereo Bluetooth technology. The 2 full-range boomboxes are in true wireless stereo. You've got to hear this. It's amazing. It's just $129 and use the promo code JCRTWS and you'll also get free shipping. It's simple. Just go to jimmychurchradio.com, click on the Studio Dome banner. Go Beckley Tappy.
This is Micah Hanks of the Gralien Report, and you're listening to Jimmy Church on Fade to Black, across the globe on the Game Changer Radio Network and the one and only KGRA Radio, The Planet.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, part 2 of our series with Ken Knutson and Peter Cameron. We just, we're discussing snow globes. and before...
In July.
Yeah, snow globes in July. Canadians love their snow globes, by the way, and I get that. I get that comparison. But with all of your skill sets between you and Ken and the rest of the team that you have got put together with the Divergent Unity project, how are you putting this together? What are the tools? Are you going to go with multimedia? You guys are going to go with videos, movies, video series, gaming? You guys understand software? And you understand the net, and you understand big data. What are the tools when people go to your website? How are you going to start to put this thing together?
Well, the short answer, yes. No. It includes all of that. So, Jimmy, it's really kind of, this is where things get kind of amazing, and the reason why yesterday's talk took you guys to kind of those places where you needed to talk out the philosophies of all of this and the connectivities to how this architecture is possible and all this sort of thing is because when we start to deliver what we call the game of frequencies, you're going to come to find that it includes all of it. So, and I know that sounds kind of sweeping, but really what we're talking about is, are you ready for it? So we've got this snow globe. So, Jimmy, let me give you an example. This probably would be the best way to do this. Do you mind playing a game with me?
Sure.
All right. So there's 2 versions of it. The first version is you lost. You just lost.
Okay.
And, of course, the big reason for that is you didn't even know what the game was, you don't know the rules, et cetera, et cetera. The second version of it is what we call Game of Frequencies, and it's where I kind of give you this story where okay, let's upload your consciousness. Let's get out of this snow globe. Let's upload your consciousness to what we call the Divergent Unity mothership. So we're up there, you and I, and we're just hanging out on the ship in this clean room data area, and we're looking down at Earth, and the first kind of thought that comes in is we won, we did it, we evolved, and that's great. The second part to that is, well, when we look down at the Earth, when we kind of go in and we go through all of the records, some people call it the Akashic records up in the Divergent Unity mothership. Big data is what it's called down on the Earth itself in this timeline at this time. We can go back in and we can have a look at that data, and we can see where things went wrong. We can see all sorts of stuff, and we can start playing with all of the data of all of the things that went on at this time period on Earth.
Right.
And again, so let me just pull back for a second. So that's an example of what we're trying to establish as a narrative. I mean, we can talk ad infinitum about how it's possible to
reset, right? You're talking about if you could go back in time or step into a parallel world where things could be different and correct, right, and on the right path. That is the stated goal.
Exactly. And so, from this perspective, then it's a matter of going in and through every single means possible, going back through that data, scrubbing the data, picking out the things that worked, things that didn't work, recompiling it, adding different modules to it, and of course this is where people come in with all their different experiences and skill sets and histories and all that sort of things start to come into place. So really, when we talk about what's the Game of Frequencies and what's the medium and how is it delivered, it's using every means possible. So, for example, of course, a lot of our experience set comes with live action role playing. So there's a component there where there's live action pieces to it. There's also going to be pre-recorded media. So part of the humanitarian hub that we've got here is to host a video production studio, a game production studio, so that we can start to develop some of these media at a systems level, because we can. So we can start rewriting the narrative. So what we're doing is we're trying to establish a narrative of disclosure. That's really what it comes down to. Something that everybody can buy into. So some of the things when you're up there out of the snow globe and you're looking down and you're kind of seeing how people are trying to do things and how differences are trying to be made and all the stuff. One of the big topics is, of course, disclosure. I mean, you even said it today with Stephen Hawking, right? In this new endeavor into kind of reaching out into space to see if there are ETs out there. Well, the question we have, and this is kind of an empirical question that there's a lot of evidence to in a lot of different ways, what if we're the key to unlocking disclosure? What if it's actually us, right? The saying, what if we're the ones we've been looking for?
Absolutely.
Right? So instead of this kind of looking out with all these big SETI and all these big projects, billions and billions of dollars being spent looking out into space, what about, as Mikio Kaku says, like, what if it's us? What if it's that brain power that runs off at 20 watts instead of that big server farm that you were visiting that couldn't do even a fraction of what our brains can do? Like, you know what I'm saying? So it's just refocusing that narrative, saying this is a narrative of disclosure. We have just activated the Game of Frequencies, and for all intents and purposes, everybody's included. So, Jimmy, we could call you we could call you the frequency of the Divergent mothership, right? It's really something that could happen.
And also, Peter, disclosure means something different to everybody. It's a very individual thing. If you ask, 50 people in the UFO community what disclosure is, you're probably going to get 50 different answers, or at least a broad variety of one version of what disclosure actually is. But you also have, if disclosure is there and it's real, and of course it is, then you also have the very same rewriting and reprogramming that you're referring to that goes to history, that goes to mathematics, that goes to physics, that goes to astronomy, anything that you can pick. There has been a dogma that has been taught that isn't necessarily the truth, so you need the disclosure in that as well. Where do humans come from? Why are we here? You know what I mean? Yeah. What is our stated purpose of being here? None of this is taught correctly. None of it. We don't know where we came from, right? And they avoid those subjects like the plague. So that's also part of disclosure. So if you are going to do this, are you suggesting that you're going to have a new educational curriculum to look at all of these things like science and history?
Yeah, exactly. And this is where this idea of the clean room comes in, and being able to scrub the data. And so, again, you guys talked at great length yesterday about this debugger mentality. Well, I mean, there are other skill sets. That's just kind of one that we hang on to near and dear. But I mean, there are other skill sets out there as well. But the end result is the same. People can be taught, onboarded, trained, whatever you want to call it, to seek truth. I mean, your listeners, there's a large percentage of them who probably do this every day on their own, right? They're probably natural at this sort of thing. It's just this larger narrative is often not something that they've been a part of, maybe, or maybe they didn't want to, that sort of thing. Maybe it's a motivation thing. But what we're appealing to is this idea that, well, you know what, guys, the time seems to be running out. I mean, scientifically, we're talking about increasingly about, extinction level events and all this sort of kind of stuff. The world's not okay. And so, this is really where that call to action comes out, to say, hey, people who want to start to help to rewrite this narrative, let's do it. We've got the engine. We've got all the pieces in place. We need content experts. We need subject matter experts. We need people with special skills and abilities. And we need to start generating the content that drives this engine. If you get the visual up there. And it's an entirely new education paradigm. Absolutely. It's from the bottom up. It goes back to kind of my history, where it's like, you can't fight the system, or you can, but it's really a losing battle. Jimmy, just as an aside, I guess one of my things is, I don't think the system's broken. And I know I'm one of few people who say that, but I don't think it is.
Which system?
As a whole, right? So, like, we can talk about the education system, we can talk about the financial, but the planetary system, I don't think it's broken. I think it's working just fine. In fact, we're continually it's continually upgrading itself in all sorts of cool ways, right? We're talking quantum, transhumanism, automation, like that's a big thing coming up.
Yep.
That has been, right, and it's facing many challenges. So the system is doing just fine with what it's intended to do. And what we're saying is, we don't have to follow that narrative anymore for all sorts of reasons and in all sorts of ways. But yeah, it's a call to action for the re-education of humanity, so that we can, I think you had mentioned it, Ken had mentioned it last night about this maturity idea, right? I mean, what would you do with a replicator? I'm just curious. If you had a replicator, someone just handed you one, what would you do with it?
What would I replicate? What would I need or want to replicate? Obviously, everybody would say money, right? I would replicate money. If I could replicate, what would I use a replicator for? I don't know if I would have a use for a replicate. You know what I would replicate? Socks. Socks, man. I've only got one
right?
sock. Yeah, right. That's a very interesting question, and so many would want to replicate money. That money it fixes everything. It certainly does fix a lot of problems. I mean, if you are homeless, replicating money is going to put you in a house, right? I totally. If you're hungry, replicating money is going to buy you food. Ultimately, in the end, money is the root of all evils, and you are going to you're going to be unhappy. But nonetheless, I don't know what I would replicate. I would replicate. Could you replicate an intangible? I would replicate.
Maybe, sure.
Yeah, I would replicate happiness. That's what I would do. I would replicate happiness. Could you unreplicate somebody? Could you unreplicate?
That could get dangerous.
Yeah, unreplicate Trump. Oh, that would be just amazing. Nah, try
portions of things.
You know what's funny? I go and I say Trump, right? And it will immediately happen. The comments it'll be 50-50. Dude, you're a Trump hater, or right, or the opposite. It's just so funny. The world is dualistic. It is completely 50-50. If you take a penny and you flip it 1,000 times, it's the law of averages are going to play its way out. Everything is 50-50. The world, half of the world loves vanilla ice cream, half of the world loves chocolate ice cream. It's just the way it is. And the more people you get involved, it's all 50-50. So, but yeah, could you unreplicate something? What would you replicate?
Well,
I answered.
I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't replicate money, because I think that replicating money would probably at some point it would be pointless, because you could just replicate the things you'd need to buy. And so the money thing would probably go out the window. But I don't know, I always think about, and my kids, just thinking about how my son would do it. And, he would probably just replicate food, like hot dogs. He loves hot dogs.
Right.
So he'd probably can I replicate 100 hot dogs right now?
Well, it's one of the 7 deadly sins, right? Gluttony. And that's what everybody thinks of. I'm not saying everybody, but most would think of those gluttonous ideas. And what drives people to make them happy. Now, me, I would like to replicate bliss and give everybody bliss and just make everybody happy. I know that sounds strange, but that certainly would make my life more fun. If everybody could just find their bliss.
Well, here's the thing then, Jim. Why don't we do this? Why don't we build something that will allow people to generate bliss and happiness?
Well, that's exactly what your project is about.
Yeah, it really is. And what I was just kind of going through with that replicator idea is just this idea of, there's hundreds of different examples. We're not mature, but we can be. We don't have the capacities to handle some of these kind of futuristic ideas that are coming down the pipe, like AI and automation and quantum, etc.
Mm-hmm.
But we can. We don't know how to get along culture to culture necessarily, but we can, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, this is where, and I know there's many people out there who know a lot more about this stuff than me, but from a systems level, it's plain as day that natural law, I mean, you just look at a child and how they interact with each other and things, it is about as natural as it gets. And if we can start to learn more from this natural law and not just think of it in terms of, being part of, attached to a dogma of some specific whatever formula or flavor, and look at it from a systems level where we say, okay, well, if we needed to get from here as a human species to here, what do we need to accomplish this? And again, then we get back into some of the stuff we already know how to do. We know how to educate. I mean, there's definitely some things to work on in terms of delivery, but the systems, our understanding of the human brain, at least in terms of learning, we can do this. It is entirely within our reach.
So you would almost have an alternative university.
Yeah, I suppose, and it's really okay. So it's a good example, or a good way to frame it, because I mean, we look at the children are a great example because they're a lot easier, right? There's no kind of the adults. You got to kind of deprogram and scrub the stuff that it experiences, and then they probably have a healing period that they need to go through, and then you got to kind of upload them with new stuff, and they've got to learn new skill-based training, and et cetera, But for the kids, I mean, it's pretty cut and dry for them. They're pretty wide open, I guess.
Well, I mean, again, starting off with the 5-year-old on your website, and here are the programs, and you can go here. Here's history. Here is science. Here is here's disclosure, here's the alien agenda. In fact, over here are the 50 types of ET beings. You can go and start with that, 101. And I get that, but you also have to deprogram. You have all of the adults where you have to go into the clean room.
Yep. Yeah, and that's the rough part. That's where we get into these neurological conditions, we talk about the ego and the cognitive dissonance and all of that stuff. I mean, we've got a group of people who we're working with, and they're just amazing. They have this large network of people who have been trying to do something like this. They just needed kind of an architecture. So it was a really cool fit, and this is actually fairly recently that this happened. So that was kind of cool, because then all of a sudden we've just got this influx of team members. So that was really cool. But one of the things that they've got is Jimmy, I forgot what I was going to say.
You were talking
Does that
about,
ever happen on your show?
It happens all the time. I do it 30 times in 30 minutes. So you were talking about team building and the core group that you've just assembled.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Well, let me ask you this before we hit this next break. How long would you put on a time if we were looking at it in a linear sense? How long would this revolution take? Is it a revolution? Is it evolution?
It's an evolution.
Yeah, it's an evolution.
And I know it's kind of depends on how you want to
right.
do it and whatnot. But what I want to get to, I just remember, is triage. So we've got this team of people who are specifically waiting at the ready for people when they go through this process to help them, because there may be Kundalini awakenings. There may be people who can't handle the transition from the way they used to be to the way they are now. So I just wanted to remember that, get that out. It's a 1 to 5 year program
for the planet.
Yep.
Okay.
I mean, keeping in mind that we're talking about, it's free will, right? There's nothing we can do to stop somebody from deciding not to do whatever it is we're selling, right? That sort of thing. But it is possible to do it. The architecture is there. The people power is there. The technology is there. We just have to execute. It's all there. We've got reams and reams of data. We've got, it's countless the things that we have that we can do. And by we, I mean Divergent Unity as the kind of catalyst architecture team, but really what I mean is we as in a planet. It's just the pieces, people haven't seen all the pieces put together. So the difference. But we totally can do it. We have it all. It's all here. It's right in front of us. It has been for quite a while.
Well, you have the facility. You certainly have the talent. You have the group of people. You have the platform. Everything seems to be in place. The one thing that I think is key here to getting this going is the fact that, and we just talked about maturity, but we are starting to grow up as a whole, as a human race. I've seen some roadblocks lately that just really flip me out with mass media and ISIS and terrorism and beheading videos and the crazy stuff out there that takes us off message. But I think as a whole, what we are not doing is, we're not drawing and quartering, people in the streets. We have a certain system in place, and we are growing up. But I think we're like 20 years old, 21, and we're starting to figure out that this planet isn't going to last forever, number one. 2, that we've abused it. 3, that not only is this planet not going to last forever, but it's probably getting very close to vomiting. And Mother Nature will correct itself if it is going down the wrong road. And so I think that all of that is coming into play, and that we have now started to figure out that this planet is all we've got, and all we have is each other. And that we are all alike, right? We're all earthlings. And this is not some new age stuff. These are the facts, right? And that we have to all get along here. And that, I just think that everybody is pretty much ready for this message. But with all of that maturity, Peter, and I really mean this, with all the intelligence that we have now, that we are acquiring, we can now look around and go, you know what? A lot of this stuff is BS. We have been taught and been fed a big load of BS. And that's the key part to all of this. Let's take a break right here. We need to do that. So let's get the break out of the way. Our guest tonight, Peter Cameron. This is part 2, Divergent Unity. Last night, Ken Knutson. Tonight, Peter Cameron. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black. More with Peter right after this short break. Stay with us.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
Always on the edge of the hottest alternative talk. Jimmy Church with Fade to Black. KGRARadio.com.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
Hello, Fadernauts. This is Jimmy Church, and I'm introducing New Pharma, a company whose products are based on science. Human function based on the endocannabinoid system, or ECS. New Pharma firmly believes in this science, and their research indicates that support of the ECS provides the beneficial effects for a healthy lifestyle. New Pharma's science includes relief capsules for pain relief, sleep capsules, which are natural support for occasional sleeplessness. Foundation is support for your ECS, and Fit capsules support your active lifestyle. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2B for a 33% discount on all of their products. Or visit newpharma.com for all of the knowledge on the science. That's GNUpharma.com. Go Beckley Tappy.
Do you worry a lot? If you're forgetful, nervous, moody, or overwhelmed, chances are you're not protecting yourself from the ravaging effects of stress and anxiety. No matter the cause, ongoing stress and elevated levels of the stress hormone cortisol can rob your memory, your health, your quality of life, and your future. Now you can combat the effects of stress and anxiety while improving your memory and recall at the same time with the dietary supplement Calm and Clever. Studies show that the ingredients in Calm and Clever reduce cortisol by as much as 30% in as little as 1 to 2 weeks and increase your ability to recall facts, names, and numbers in 4 to 12 weeks. Calm and Clever was created by scientist Kurt Hendricks, a principal investigator in 2 NIH-funded studies on Alzheimer's disease. Try Calm and Clever for 2 months. You'll feel the difference. Call 1-800-758-8746 or go to calmandclever.com.
You listen to us, and we listen to you. And so does the CIA. KGRAradio.com.
Hi, folks. CBD is the home run hitter for health right now. Why, you ask? Because of what it does for the body. Unfortunately, I can't tell you all about the benefit. You know, there's reasons. Do your due diligence and log on to ancientlifeoil.com. That's ancientlifeoil.com. Ancient Life Oil uses organic ingredients and is blended in coconut oil for some of the best benefits. Legal in 50 states and non-psychoactive. Log on to ancientlifeoil.com. That's ancientlifeoil.com.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Our guest tonight, Peter Cameron, part 2 of our Divergent Unity series. Last night, Ken Knutson. This portion of the broadcast is brought to you by River Moon Coffee, makers of the Fade to Black blend. Let's go over to the River Moon Coffee banner over at jimmychurchradio.com. Click on it. Use the promo code F2B blend for 15% off of your order today. It is truly, I'm going to drink some right now, live on the air. Everybody in the bunker cam just watched my face. It is truly the best coffee in the world. Now, Peter, I envision this. I envision a series of educational videos going back to square one, re-educating the masses. I see all of that. That is a huge thing to undertake, but that's a small part of what you guys are going to be doing. This all takes money. How I mean, that's the big question too as well. You guys have definitely got this thing launched, and I think the business model is there. It could be the biggest thing ever, you know, seriously, like in ever. Yeah. But it all takes money. How is that accomplished?
Well, hopefully it's accomplished by people seeing the value to this. Really, because this isn't you know, as a startup kind of experienced startup guy. I mean, we're not talking about a C round and, you know, a couple $100,000. We're talking about the largest disclosure endeavor, the largest evolutionary process endeavor ever compiled, ever put together, and it's going to take, you know, all of these components and pieces to put together. So we're talking about a large sum of money. Like, so I mean, it certainly not coming from my bank account, but it's got to come from somewhere. And part of this call to action is talking to, you know, or appealing to these people who kind of are the top-down folks, right? Looking at this, you know, people who look at these sorts of system-level events all day long, who can see the value to this. I mean, we're talking about how many billions of dollars get spent every year, as I said before, looking out into space for aliens, for ETs, for something. I mean, other than the research that goes into, the science that goes into that and discoveries and that sort of thing, just truly how many billions of dollars, because it's in the billions, gets spent. I don't know if you have the number, I don't offhand, but what we're talking about is taking a step back. If we're truly on board with this idea that the planet is kind of fading or it's about to puke on us or something, and we have the capacity and the means of doing this, of making it so that we can perhaps evolve to a state where we can maybe make a difference before this happens, let alone kind of the outcome, the result of being an evolved species in a time when spacefaring is a real thing, all of that sort of kind of narrative as well. I mean, we're talking about evolving humanity. And
well, are you looking for
part of that?
Are you looking for Elon Musk to come in? Stephen Hawking's got Yuri Milner. Are you looking for some Russian oligarch that's just sitting on expendable cash that thinks you guys are doing the right thing? Are you looking for that? Or are you looking for a massive crowdfunding campaign, or both to go together? Mm-hmm. What about the Canadian government? Yeah. Do they have a grant program? I mean,
yeah. So, I mean, first and foremost, the system, anything to do with the system is not going to work, right? Because this endeavor itself, in order for it to work, it has to be outside of the system. So any kind of government or grant or incubation or investment, through the normal channels, it's just not going to work. I mean, we've tried many, many different things, but through that and experience and people who actually know a lot more about this stuff than we do, it's just not going to happen that way. It can't. But by nature of the definition of what we're trying to do, it goes against everything that the system stands for, in a sense, right? Because we're building something new. So that kind of narrows the playing field down to people who have a true interest in what we're doing, who can see the value in this. And yeah, it could be anything. I mean, we've got a crowdfunding site set up on Patreon. It's just something that we set up because we thought it's an interesting approach, right? It's basically, the idea is, if everybody gives $1, then or for each $1 that is donated, that translates into $1 per person. So if we can make it to giving $1 for every person on the planet, then maybe we have a chance. That sort of thing.
Right.
But it's not cut and dry, is what I'm saying. It's definitely, I mean, like you said, the business model is there. It's all been packaged up and it's in prime form. It's just, this is not something that we can go into the books and see other examples of it happening. But what we can point to is things like, Elon Musk saying, okay, you know what, we're getting off this rock and we're going to take a whole bunch of people with us, and it's going to cost an awful lot of money for you to grab a seat on board, and the 99.9% of you that are left behind, well, good luck. And what we're saying is, well, maybe not. Maybe there are people out there who have the capacity to do this financially and see that it's extremely valuable and beneficial, and we would love to talk to them.
Well, his office is right here in Los Angeles, man. SpaceX is right down the street. Yeah,
well, if Elon gave us a call, it would certainly be an interesting conversation.
Well, yeah. You need to reach out. You need to reach out. Okay, so let's. That when you say that it narrows down, I think it narrows down really, really quickly, because you do have a serious issue here where you don't necessarily want something from the system, but big dollars is always involved in the system, right? No matter how you try to play that out, you're always going to have to go back into the confines of the man, no matter who the free thinker is. The big dollars are involved into the system, but unless the
the whole purpose to this, and again, remember, we're talking about a 1 to 5 year plan to make money obsolete, so that would be the final kind of smackdown, if you will, or the gauntlet throwdown to end this thing for once and for all. So, I mean, sure, it's a risky business, but I mean, that's really what we're talking about here.
So,
right? Because what you described was us. The result of this, we're still living in a system that uses money, and so yeah, that kind of makes you part of that, and you can't separate the one from the other. But if we used a chunk of money to virtually or systematically remove the need for money, then...
Well, that's the catch-22. I mean, if the end game is that, right, to have a society that has removed money from the system, if that's the end game, but the catch-22 is you need money to get to that point. Right? It's just the way that it is. Well, I've often wondered when we meet E.T., and he comes down and starts to tell us the keys to the universe, right? And he's disclosing these things. Is he carrying a credit card? How is their system based? And the futurists that are here, and when we're talking about futurism, the futurists here always envision a society that money is removed. There's no more cold hard cash, and we're in a cashless society. And then the next stage beyond that, we don't need money at all. Wealth is something that is removed, and now are we into some utopian socialist agenda where everybody is equal, and does that take away from creativity and competitiveness? Part of what drives ingenuity is a capitalist society. It happens to work really, really well. You're rewarded, for inventing things and for creating things and for making things better, faster, stronger, sweeter, better tasting, and you're rewarded for that, and that's what drives that. And what drives that is the guy next to you that is also trying to build something faster and better. So, it all seems to work now. If everybody is equal, does that make the system lazy? And then do we stagnate?
Well, yeah, and you just made a perfect point. That's why I make the argument that the system is far from broken. You just said it. It's perfect. It's great. It works amazingly well for what it does. But what's the outcome? I mean, we talk about systems of control. We talk about the failing societies or environment or the planet coming to an end, all sorts of stuff. I mean, warmongering and child abuse and or abductions and so on and so on and so on and so on.
Right.
It's that same system, so it's obviously not that good.
Now, in your vision of Divergent Unity and its curriculum, would you, and believe me, I would, just so I don't want to pollute your answer, but would you charge for the curriculum?
So we run on an open source methodology, and so the idea is to not do that. Absolutely. But because we have to start in the system. That's where everything starts, right? Part of it is, as you had mentioned, part of it is this financial connection. There's no possible way of doing it any other way without bankrolling it ourselves, which is impossible. So it's tied into that system no matter what.
Well, another alternative is this. So much so today with YouTube, Vimeo, other outlets out there, everybody expects content creators to provide stuff for free, right? Yeah. Why are you charging? Why do you have ads on here? Remove the ads. Why isn't everything for free? Why, let's just, and they don't, what they don't understand is, and I always flip this around. Why don't you go to work for a year and every week when you get your paycheck, give it back to your boss and just say, dude, I'm here working for free. I don't need to provide for my family. I don't need to eat. I don't need a car. I don't need rent. I don't need electricity. I don't need anything. And tell me how far that takes you. Yeah. Right? Okay. And I don't want to be harsh here, but content creators need to be be to eat. Right? They need to be able to provide this content.
This is why we have to build this at a systems level, because what you're describing is exactly the problem. We're talking about this from inside the system, from inside the snow globe. So of course we have to make sure everybody eats. They have to feed their family. Currently I have a family. I have bills to pay. I have dogs to feed, and et cetera, et cetera. It's the system. I mean, I have to go to the store and buy food, and that's how it works. If you can't do that, well, that's where
it breaks down. The
problems happen. So, I mean, it's as I said, we have to start this in the system. Financially is a big reason for this because of that. But here's where it gets interesting. We also have to start in the system because that's where the people are. Right? So we're not talking about, okay, we're outside the system, we're going to build a system outside the system, and then just like, hey guys, we have a new thing over here, come on over. This is like, imagine, okay, we're a special ops team, and we're going in under the cover of darkness. We have to sneak in past the guards, right? And we have to do it seamlessly so that there's no alarms triggered. We have to go in, infiltrate. I mean, this sounds like a spy novel, but I mean, this is what we're talking about. We have to go in, we have to plant the seeds, because people are, I mean, how many times have you heard zombified? People are in their thing. They're in their lives. They're in their snow globes, and they're stuck to various things, whether it's financial ties or otherwise. I mean, there's 1,000 different things that people do that kind of keep them stuck in their globe. So we have to reach those people. So if we don't have a smooth kind of tie-in, a seamless way of getting in and getting out, and then kind of creating that two-way path into and out of the system, then it's not going to work. So, I mean, it has to be this way. So we have to have a very close connection with this system, and it's got to be seamless. We're not going in. It's not violent. It's not protests. It's not revolutionary. Up in arms, pitchforks, all of that sort of thing. We've tried that as thousands and thousands of times. It doesn't work. The system learns. The algorithms recompile. I mean, this is what AI is starting to show us, is that how quickly it can do this, and it shuts us down. I mean, how many protests have we seen in the last year? They're nicely sectioned off. The police kind of stand outside. Everybody, it's timed. Okay, well, you're allowed to protest between this time and this time for these 3 days, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, the system has it covered. It's definitely not the case. What we have to do is we have to pull people, we have to wake them up. And in order to do that, we've got to have this seamless connection with the system. So we're not outside of it. We are the system. We're part of it. What we're saying is we don't need to follow this narrative anymore. Let's make a new one together.
Now, and then we have, I mean, what is your sales pitch to and I'm being very frank here, what is your sales pitch to those out there that absolutely do not care, right? They do not relate to this at all. I mean, they are so ingrained into watching hockey or doing their thing and hanging out, and they don't watch. They don't know what's going on in Syria. They don't know about starvation in Africa or India. The complete disconnect to world events, right?
Yeah.
How do you? Yeah. They don't care. They really, really don't care. What's your sales pitch?
Yeah, so I guess there's 2 points to that. And the one of them is that we were talking about this the other day, actually. If this is done right, there's a lot of people who won't necessarily notice a big difference at first. The reality will just have changed. And because they haven't been paying attention to the news and to the levels of poverty or the global consciousness being raised, et cetera, then they're still going to just play their Call of Duty or whatever it is they're up to. And that's that. So, I mean, that's the one thing. And the other part of it, we have, well, okay, so this is where gamification comes in. This is where, you make it irresistibly engaging for them to pick up what we call a cosmic communicator, and this, the Pokemon phenomenon. Maybe that's where they start. Like, oh, what's this, right? And you reach them where they're at. This is a learning principle. It's a basic learning principle. You've got to meet students or people where they're at. You can't just go in half-cocked or making all of these assumptions about who they are, what they like, what they do, whatever, or what they're willing to do or care about. You got to go meet them where they're at. So you provide them this variety of tools. You have mall kiosks. You have simulators at the amusement parks. You have online games, offline games. You have meetups. You have all sorts of things where we start to change this narrative away from violence, away from negative thoughts, away from talk of money, about like finding solutions, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And piece by piece, we start rewriting this narrative. And so, back to the pitch, I guess what we have is an irresistibly engaging enterprise that, because this is, for me, this is the important part. Again, as a teacher, you got to go to that lowest common denominator. That person who's sitting in the room, they don't really care, it's not of interest to them for a variety of reasons. Well, we can still get to that person, and even if they care once, right? They decided to download the app or watch the YouTube video or whatever it is. That's one thing, and a seed is planted. Because it's not, it's not like we're talking about, some great religious dogma that have to go and understand thousands and thousands of pages of whatever. We're talking about, guys, we're getting you to be a better human, and there's some really cool ways we can do this. And we know from the statistics on gaming and gamification in general, we're talking about 3 billion people just to start with, and we know how to reach their attention. It's all there. We just have to execute. We have all these pieces. We just have to execute.
Yeah. Somebody just posted, "Oh, Jimmy, there's starvation in the United States also, not Africa. Stop watching fake news." Please. Oh, man. Yeah, there's not only is there starvation in here in the United States, but we throw away more food every single day than we eat. There's way too much food here. Way too much. But that was just no matter what I say ever, Peter, you are going to encounter the same thing that I do every single day. No matter what I say, somebody is going to find something wrong with it. I can say right now, the color sagebrush green is wonderful. It's just wonderful. What do you mean, sagebrush green? Sagebrush green is the most evil thing of the... Yeah, right. Dude. Dude, that is the most evil thing you could ever say. Oh, man. Goodness. Haven't you ever seen Aqua? It's just like... man, it's hilarious, man. Absolutely. Right now, I'm trying to offend as many people as I can at the same time. Now, and then there is the other part of this. There are those out there that are going to say, sounds like a cult. This sounds like a cult. This is a cult mentality. This is this is another spin on a new age cult. Now, how do you answer that? You are going to encounter this, so let's practice right now. Sounds like a New Age cult.
Yeah, it's again. This is the same sort of systems thinking that, or snow globe thinking that got us in this trouble in the first place. So the first thing we do is we make sure that everything we're doing. So let me just take a step back for a second, so I can kind of frame out what it is that we have.
Well, no, actually, Peter, we'll do that after the break. No,
Okay,
I want you to answer the question.
Sure.
The question is, this sounds like a New Age cult.
So
your answer is no. Your
we're
answer
talking about natural law, and we're talking about science.
Right.
So if you call natural law and science a cult, then I suppose we're talking about the same thing, but I don't think that that's really a good idea. It's everything we bring to the table is, sure, we're following some natural law principles, right? So we've got things like creativity and love and beauty and kindness, expansion, receptivity, unlimited abundance. Are any of those not ingrained in every single cultural, spiritual, religious tenets that you can think of?
That's right.
And the answer is no, of course.
Right.
So what we're talking about, again, at the systems level, we have debugged humanity. We know what humanity needs, not from because we are all knowing or we have the right answers, because it's in our records, it's in our documents. We already have, as a human species, we already have the know-how to do this. So is it a cult? I don't know. It's human. We're human. We have all of the things we know and the things we don't know, and everything is up for us. So we get back to the scientific method. You pose a hypothesis, you do experimentation, you come out with a result and a conclusion, rinse and repeat until finally you come up with the answer that seems most right. For the most part, this is where big data comes in, because a lot of it has already been done for us. You just got to kind of know how to weed through the mass quantities of it, and kind of find some truth in there. And that's part of what we need, is people willing to go into the Internet of Things, into the big records data store of humanity, and start pulling some of the stuff out that we need to take with us.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, and I'm on the same page. These issues that I bring up, playing devil's advocate, it's what the system is going to do. They're going to come back at you, because you can't break down what they have built, or at least they will try to make sure that you don't do just that. And that's part of what we do here on Fade to Black every single night. Peter, more with Peter Cameron, Divergent Unity, when we come back after this short break. Stay with us.
You are listening to my boy, Jimmy Church, on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter.
But listening to Jimmy Church will.
So you went to dinner last night, you had your favorite pasta. Ugh. Or maybe you had a heavy, spicy meal and it left you. Ugh. GetTheT.com. Maybe you mowed down a huge steak and your plumbing is all plugged. Ugh. GetTheT.com. Our super strength tea will take care of your occasional. Ugh. It's all organic and non-GMO. Get rid of ugh. We have so many great supplements, but our super tea is number one. GetTheT.com. That's GetTheT.com.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roasted to the dark side of fade to black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Yes, Rivermoon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Teppy. What's up, Fadernauts? Studio Dome loves Fade to Black and the F2B audience so much that they have put together the ultimate stereo Bluetooth system. They've done it just for you. Man, check this out. The Studio Dome SBB2 stereo system is here. It's featuring 2 Studio Boombox 2 SBB2 wireless Bluetooth speakers, packed in its own custom hardshell case. This Studio Dome system features the very latest in stereo Bluetooth technology. The 2 full-range boomboxes are in true wireless stereo. You've got to hear this. It's amazing. It's just $129 and use the promo code JCRTWS and you'll also get free shipping. It's simple. Just go to jimmychurchradio.com, click on the Studio Dome banner. Go Beckley Teppy.
It's not a lifestyle we chose. We were born this way. KGRAradio.com.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, part 2, Divergent Unity. Last night, Ken Knutson. Tonight, Peter Cameron. Pick up right where we left off. And what's the call to arms? How can everybody get involved, Peter? What's the next step for this audience right now? What do they do?
Yeah, and that's so. I let me just clarify this. So we've got 2 things happening in parallel. The first one is this kind of this idea of the Catalyst Capstone team, right? And so right now we are actively seeking people to come and be part of that. People who are divergent minded or want to be divergent minded, or people who have specific skills and talents that will help us to kind of deliver the content that we want, so that we can kind of form that team. So that's one part of this call to arms. So anybody out there, any of your listeners, anyone out in the interweb of things who feels kind of a calling to this, please let us know, or maybe let you know, and you can let us know, something like that. That's the first part. And I guess the second part is we are, I guess, calling out to humanity as a whole, I guess. In particular, I guess the top down, where we're talking to people who could finance something like this at this scope, to kind of present themselves, whether they are already in this kind of space of human evolution or spacefaring or whatnot, or they just see the likelihood of this being successful.
And so contributors of content and of ideas, you have that. And then what about the audience that want to go and see what you are doing, and how do they get involved?
So, I mean, right now we're just kind of starting things to ramp things up. So we have a whole bunch of videos that we've posted and will be posting continuously onto our YouTube channel, and they're really just kind of taking you through we call them episodes. We've got 6 seasons planned out of Ken and I just kind of talking through this whole systems kind of thing. There's a whole architecture behind it. So there's that. People can kind of tune into that, and eventually what we'll have is so our humanitarian hub is going to be a live feed. So you'll be able to kind of tune in and out at will, and to various things that are going on. Once we start to accumulate our teams in their different areas, our media production, film production, game production, content management, et cetera, so that we can kind of do all sorts of cool stuff with that.
So if there are coders out there, if there are editors out there, graphics people, writers, and so forth, they can go to your website and say, hey, I have this specific talent. I want to be part of the team. Who do they contact, and how does that happen?
So, they can contact me, Peter, at divergentunity.space, or Ken. He's Kefri Thoth at divergentunity.space, and we can get started. Now, the alternative is if you are somebody who wants to participate, or you want to kind of start the process yourself, the kind of the learning pathways, then we're wanting people to go over to Modern Masters to get that started, because the idea is, there's ascended masters who can start this master-teacher, master-student relationship right off the bat, so that we can start getting these people primed for the next part, which is actually creating this content. There's all sorts of scaffolded learning frameworks and things like this, where we can get these people in place to start to work through this master-teacher, master-student relationship. So that's another thing that we're hoping people will start to catch on to. So Modern Masters.
Now, I wanted to touch a little bit on Tron and the reality of now. We started to talk about that a little bit yesterday with Ken, and I wanted to take that a step further today. Tron, the reality of now. Where are we with that?
Well, I mean, I always do this when it comes to the reality of now. I just simply, what's your worldview? And I don't mean like in 25 words or less. The question everybody should be able to answer is, what is your worldview? What do you see?
Right.
And generally speaking, it's not great. What we find, I mean, of course, then we get the naysayers are saying, well, you're just looking at the dark. There's tons of beautiful, happy light things going on, light-based things going on that you dark people don't see that sort of thing. And it's not what we're talking about. We're talking about what is the reality of now. What is the planet as a whole up to? Is it, if we were to put like a health meter on it, where would it be? Just a simple dial. Would it be in the red zone? Would it be in the green zone? And I think we're all pretty within a range. We're probably all going to say roughly the same thing. And it's as simple as that. I mean, I was reading an article the other day. It's a Canadian. It was a Canadian journalist for, I think, the Globe and Mail up in Canada here, and she was just. You could see the frustration and the rage coming out in her. And I mean, this is one of the most popular newspapers in Canada. So I mean, She has a high degree of professionalism that she has running, and this, you could just see that she was just losing her mind with this article. She was covering the suicide rates for Indigenous people in Canada. It is the number one killer for Indigenous people under 45 and under in Canada. And she was just like, people, what are you doing? Like, I'm talking to you right now, and you're not hearing it because you're not standing up and fixing this, pouring as much money as you need into it, pouring as much of your effort and time, because these kids are dying. And that's just Canada, and it's a big problem that we as a country don't really see. I mean, we've got our Prime Minister who is trying desperately to do his work as his due diligence to try to solve some things, but I mean, I'm sure he's got his own problems and bureaucracies to deal with. But I mean, that's what we're talking about with this reality of now. We can go to every country. You'd had that caller type text in about poverty in the U.S. I mean, we can go to every country in the world, and there's big problems. And that's just the ones that kind of have accumulated over time. This isn't. We're not even talking about like this futurism problem. Because this is a big part of the reality of now as well. Is that the amount of people who can have a meaningful conversation about the largest components of our near future, which are AI, which is automation, which is transhumanism. We've got quantum stuff, quantum computing, big data. I mean, the future is being built around us, and we don't even know how to talk about it. I can't have a meaningful conversation about this stuff with the vast majority of people that I know, and yet that's what our future is. So that's kind of, for me, that's what encapsulates this idea of the reality of now. I mean, well, yes, all we need is love. I get it. But how does that translate into fixing the problems of the world? And not that it can't be done, and I believe this is what we're talking about here, is that we actually can do it. It just doesn't necessarily come in the way we think it comes.
Most people don't get AI, and they don't get what's going on with software and how it directly interacts with their lives. They don't understand, all of the smart devices in their phone or in their home and how it's taking control of their lives. They don't get that. What they do understand is that they can order off of Amazon, and chances are they can get it delivered. If they order it in the morning, they might even get it that afternoon, or they're going to get it the next day. And how Netflix conveniently, when somebody says, man, this Netflix is just so wonderful. Well, what they don't, everything that I love just happens to pop up on this screen. And what they don't realize is that's AI working with their choices throughout the net, throughout Netflix, and all of this wonderful stuff is popping up on their screen. All they know is this stuff is wonderful. It understands what I am doing. Why talk to me about this? Because I enjoy the fact that this smart toothbrush of mine orders toothpaste for me. And that brings me actually to another part of this Tron business. We've got these alternative media outlets, Netflix isn't necessarily alternative anymore, but I mean they've got a lot of alternative content. Like it's a massive amount. I'm not sure if you're a Netflix guy, but it's definitely huge. The amount of content for alternative stuff, for the amount of just ET kind of shows alone, or off grid, or learn how to do whatever. It's all sorts of kind of cool stuff. We've got Curiosity Stream, which is taking on the science stuff. We've got Gaia, which is taking on more of the esoteric and personal wellness kind of stuff, and so on and so forth. And there's these massive treasure troves of content that is not being plugged in. Whether they've got agendas or obviously they're out to make money and all that sort of thing. Here we have these massive amounts of awesome content that
desperately need to be plugged into a larger narrative, desperately. So all of a sudden, we get these people who are, who are just flicking aimlessly on their Netflix. All of a sudden, the AI shows them, hey, why don't you learn about healthy eating? Right? Because we know you like to watch food shows, or, so on and so forth. We can, again, it comes down to agendas and what the willingness is of the parts. But, I mean, the possibilities are endless.
Well, and what are the dangers? I mean, what would keep the system from going after, you and other people and completely fighting this?
Yeah, and this is where we talk about this as a catalyst movement. And this is why, coming back to the money of this can't work as a drip feed. I mean, drip feed will happen, especially for those people who are absolutely locked in. It has to be that way. Otherwise, you get traumas and what have you, and all sorts of stuff. But it has to be. So I guess what I'm saying is we can do this in 1 to 5 years. It is possible. But if we don't have the financial means to do it, then it will not happen because the system just absorbs it. So this isn't something that we can do over 20 years. It won't work that way. Like you said, it will just be, parts will be taken out, it will be disassembled. The system, once we get AI working even better, it will probably be able to handle this much more efficiently. And yeah, people will be taken down, threat will be minimized, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Well, that's
this is part of why it has to be like a quick a black hole effect, right?
Well, I say it all the time, and I really mean this, Peter, and it's this. If you have something smart to say, you will have the attraction of who you need to get to, right? That's it. What you can't do is stop. Because if you stop, then you're the band that broke up in high school and you guys never achieved what you could have achieved, right? You can't let your foot off the gas. Eventually, just like this program started with 0 listeners, right? It just started that way. And you attract those that think like you and that are open to it. Now, look what it has grown into. You guys will do the exact same thing. You will end up attracting those that are looking for this message, and then it will grow exponentially. It will be the snowball rolling downhill. There's no doubt about that. The thought of a reality generation engine, right, and just that concept right there alone is what would be that snowball rolling downhill. It will eventually just start to feed on itself.
And that's the idea, right? So some people that we have spoken to, that often the comments come back, well, why are you guys the ones that are going to build the new reality, right? What makes you the guy to do that? And the answer is really simple. We're not know what the new reality looks like. I don't know what it is. But I know how to light the beacon. I know how to I know how to build the engine. But it's got to be powered by the people, right? By humanity. That's the whole point of this, is that we are going to evolve. Not, oh, hey, I've got the answer and I'm going to pull you along. It's just not. It's so far from the truth. It's really that concept of the reality generation happens by this process, that I guess this architecture process that we've developed, but it's powered by people doing it. If people don't do it, it will not turn on, and right, it will not generate anything on the other side. So is it eventually going to be completely open source? Absolutely, that's the whole point of this. So I mean, we've got connections with other software developers, for example, who have products who we can immediately plug into this. The whole point of the matter is, I mean, we haven't even gotten into the part where, are you familiar with things like Fiverr?
Of course.
Okay, so Fiverr and Upwork and things like this, where it's a crowdsourced work program. Well, we can start doing things like that, whereby people are. It's tricky because there's the one conversation pre-money and there was the one conversation post-money, right? Where money matters and where it doesn't matter. Where money still matters. Well, now we can provide an entire kind of we can create our own Fiverr in a sense, where people can start to work doing the things that they are good at doing, and we can use that to generate the content, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But the whole concept around this is based on open source methodology, so that we can get these teams. Let's say there's a team in Japan or in Austria or something like that, and they have a really good idea for some content, and they want to build their own team. Okay, well, let's onboard them, let's get them set up, let's get them started, and then they're going to start creating their own content, their own generation of content based around whatever their interests and needs. As long as it kind of passes through this I was mentioning about this template, the 7 principles, right? As long as it passes through ideas of love and beauty, if it's got guns and violence, it's probably not going to make it through, right? So, there's definitely learning curves and things like that. But I mean, that's where it goes to, so that it's all open source. There's no need to exchange or to proprietary. What's the word? To make it
prioritize or proprietary,
yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And so, I mean, sure. Right now, we have some IP, specific IP that's locked that we won't kind of reveal at this point. But it's not because we're looking to cash in on this sort of thing. It's because we're holding it until we're allowed to let it go, because then it's too late for the system to kind of absorb it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, expand on that a little bit.
Okay, so I mean, as you said, we've got an architecture and a framework, and it's an actual design that we've got laid out, and it will allow us to take content, bring it through our kind of checks and balances, a think tank of sorts, where we can use the scientific method, and we bring hypotheses down into eventually content that gets created and generated and out into this larger system, gaming system. But it's all interconnected with, and again, this is where it gets into the more specific IP type stuff, but we can, we have the technology to put it all together, I guess is the easiest way to say it. It's no longer rocket science. It's no longer outside of the realm for us to create and generate a new reality. I mean, I do it all the time.
And one of and one of the things that I see with this, or the implications, or maybe that you're implying that it would be possible to go back and rewrite some of the big data. But if that is the case, isn't that exactly what Orwell warned us about with what Big Brother and the Ministry of Information was doing, was going back and rewriting history to fix their own agenda, right? So, am I correct in looking at it like that?
Well, no. So, we have to take. So, you call it maybe the dirty data versus the clean data. I know that's not my favorite way to look at it, but that's probably a simple way to look at it. And you need both, right? So back to this whole, we're up on the Divergent Unity mothership looking down, and we're looking at it. We're detached to none of it. We're just looking at it, trying to make sense of it. What happened? How did things work out? And in that sense, it's not, we're not rewriting history, if that, right? In that sense, everything is there. It already happened. What we're trying to do is trying to make sense of it and figure out maybe where we went wrong, maybe where we didn't need to follow the leader in this sense, in this way, and where we can kind of bypass it. But I mean, Obviously, we're not in the business of rewriting history. What we're trying to do is draw from the consilience of knowledge, because we've got good stuff in there, lots of it.
Right.
And if we can kind of come to a consensus, which if we're evolving, if we're maturing, we will be able to do. Today, not so much, right? Consensus just doesn't seem to be a thing
right
now.
Right,
but
right.
It is something that is actually attainable. Then we start to bring that stuff along, and this is why we get into natural law, because you can't argue with natural law. I mean, you can, I suppose, but it would be one hell of a fight.
Well, yeah, you would have your own big data repository of all of the new alternative. It has to. You have to use the word alternative because it's the alternative of what has been collected now for history and knowledge. So you would have your own, buildup of data of a correct view. I think that's the way to put it. the correct version of reality.
Yeah. It's. I mean, and everybody's got to know. It's get into philosophy of relative subjectivity and stuff like this, but I mean, I'm just thinking as an example. We've got on our team, an alchemist. He's a full-fledged alchemist. He's been studying it for years and years and years. He just loves this stuff, and imagine more people having that skill set. Just that alone,
right?
Just the some of these kind of deeper understandings of let's say the Kabbalah tree of life and all of the inner workings and connotations and so on and so forth. I mean, there's so much that we could do with this.
It's about as ambitious of a project as anything, and I've said it from the beginning, and especially yesterday with Ken, is that what you are trying to do is the most ambitious thing ever. And, all you can do is get it done. You don't have a choice. And you guys have the facility, you have the brain power, you have all of the components are now in place. So let's get this thing going and move it along. And it's now time to be a game changer. Peter, thank you so much. And I want to thank Ken for last night. And everybody, the website is divergentunity.oy2k.com. The links are over at jimmychurchradio.com. Just click on it. Go and check it out. We have all of their video links are up on the front page for jimmychurchradio.com. So you can go through their YouTube videos. They're all there, and you can go and meet Ken and Peter directly. Thank you so much, Peter. And I can't wait to get you guys back on the show. And for everybody out there, too, as well, go check out and sign up for Modern Masters. These are real game changers. Thank you so much, Peter.
Thanks, Jimmy. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you so much. Great conversation. Take a break right here. I'll open up the phone lines when we come back. 323-825-5045 or 323-275-9695. 323-275-9695. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. I'll be right back.
Listening to my boy, Jimmy Church, on jimmychurchradio.com.
Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter.
But listening to Jimmy Church will.
So you went to dinner last night, you had your favorite pasta. Ugh. Or maybe you had a heavy, spicy meal and it left you. Ugh. GetTheT.com. Maybe you mowed down a huge steak and your plumbing is all plugged. Ugh. GetTheT.com. Our super strength tea will take care of your occasional. Ugh. It's all organic and non-GMO. Get rid of ugh. We have so many great supplements, but our super tea is number one. GetTheT.com. That's GetTheT.com.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roasted to the dark side of fade to black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Yes, Rivermoon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Teppy. What's up, Fadernauts? Studio Dome loves Fade to Black and the F2B audience so much that they have put together the ultimate stereo Bluetooth system. They've done it just for you. Man, check this out. The Studio Dome SBB2 stereo system is here. It's featuring two Studio Boombox 2 SBB2 wireless Bluetooth speakers, packed in its own custom hardshell case. This Studio Dome system features the very latest in stereo Bluetooth technology. The two full-range boomboxes are in true wireless stereo. You've got to hear this. It's amazing. It's just $129 and use the promo code JCRTWS and you'll also get free shipping. It's simple. Just go to jimmychurchradio.com, click on the Studio Dome banner. Go Beckley Teppy.
Erica, Brittany, Gabby, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
It's not a lifestyle we chose. We were born this way. KGRARadio.com.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. Open lines, 323-825-5045 or 323-275-9695. I've already got some phone calls lined up here. Got an email during the break about the replicator. It says, this is from Adele in Hawaii. She says, I'd replicate hamburgers so an animal with a soul doesn't have to be killed and slaughtered for it. Sounds like Adele loves hamburgers and is trying to get the workaround. Actually, it's pretty smart. I kind of dig that. She also says, I'd replicate leather for shoes and belts to get rid of the plastic materials being used more and more that aren't good for us physically, but not have to kill animals for it. That's always the problem. That's a great replicator. Replicate hamburgers. Does that include tacos? What about tacos? Pizzas, replicate pizzas. It all makes sense, doesn't it? All right, let's go to the phones. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling?
Hello there. This is Kendra from Ventura.
Hi, Kendra. How are you tonight?
Oh, doing good, Jimmy. How are you?
I'm doing good. Great conversation, with our part two. So what's on your mind?
Oh, well, fascinating concept that these guys are bringing forward. It's rather ambitious, and let's hope it works. It sounds great. So, crossed fingers. But the reason I've been wanting to call relating to, you were talking about climate change the other day.
Right.
Other night. And kind of asking some valid questions about it. And I've been studying the subject for a couple decades. Was working with a nonprofit here in Ventura, which started from Al Gore's film from 2006, Inconvenient Truth, and we started a whole huge movement here. I'm sure all over the country and the world. And so I've been studying it, mostly the science, a lot of the science for the most part, the political stuff, but the actual science of it. And there's a lot of things I think the general public may not understand that I was hoping to share if I could. Is that all right?
Well, I've got calls on hold, so yeah, give me the short version.
I'll make it quick.
Yeah.
I'll give you some factoids quick. Okay. So what we're experiencing now as far as what's in the air causing climate change happened 30 years ago. It takes 30 years for whatever we're pumping into the atmosphere to circle around the planet. So what we're doing now is going to affect the planet 30 years from now. And 99.9% of scientists across the planet agree that climate change is, or how huge it is and how damaging it is caused by what we humans are doing. Yes, climate change happens naturally over eons of time, but it takes a long time, like thousands of years, millennia, for things to get super hot and super cold, and then life can adapt. What we've done by pumping 30% more CO2 in the atmosphere over the last 200 years, what we're doing in 200 years normally might take 200,000 years. So it's a super acceleration of what happens naturally. And so that's the danger. It's the acceleration of the climate change. Not that it doesn't happen naturally. So I just, wanted to share that with folks that yes, it's definitely the how fast it's happening is human caused. Period. You can't really debate the science. Well, you could debate the science, but 99.9% of scientists don't. And those who do, who are out there debating it, saying, "Oh, it's fake," or what have you, are being paid by the industry, by big oil and so forth.
Well,
so follow the money.
Yeah, I hear you there. But my counteraction with all of that, this is, and I'm not funded by big oil. I'm not funded by a politician. I'm not funded by anybody. I'm funded by you. So, but this is how my brain works. Trees need CO2. More CO2, more green. Less CO2, less green. Less green, less oxygen. And that right there, I don't care what a scientist is going to say to me, that's how my brain works. And until they can counteract that argument with me, nature will always create that fine balance. And that's I have a hard time, I keep going back to, even if we didn't have humans on this planet, we would still have climate change. No humans. And before humans, look when dinosaurs were farting all over this planet, creating massive amounts of methane. That
dinosaur fart.
Right. There's no doubt about that. That created its own thing too, as well. So I mean, but I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that coal-fired electrical plants are good. I'm not suggesting that at all, and I'm not saying that we aren't contributing to it. But I'll bet you, Vegas wouldn't take this bet. No humans on this planet. We're still heating up. That's all. That's it.
Yeah. It's the acceleration, though.
Yeah,
No
doubt.
It's just that so much at once that life can't readily adapt to the swift changes, and we're seeing evidence of superstorms and droughts where there usually aren't, and snow where there usually isn't, and floods where there usually isn't.
But Kendra, the Sahara was a tropical paradise once.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so
but these changes take eons and eons, and we've done it in 200 years. That's the problem.
That took a couple of hundred years to change.
No.
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. And it's changing back now. So, but back to my point, and thank you for the phone call because you're always insightful. And what I had said, and what I said the other night, no matter what anybody says about climate change, no matter what, it's so polarizing now that it just inflames, right? And I totally get that. And that's why I appreciate the phone call. Thank you so much, Kendra, and be safe out there.
Take care, man. Smoke the beans.
You got that
Bye.
right. Bye, Kendra. Yeah, it's exactly always my point when it comes to something like this. Seriously, it's so polarizing. And I totally understand that. And both sides, many sides, it's not even both sides. There's like 3, 4, 5 different camps here when it comes to climate change. And they're all armed and dangerous. And they all have legitimate points to bring to the table. I don't think it's ever going to get resolved. I think Mother Nature itself will fix it for sure. Let's go back to the phones. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling? You're live right now.
This is Shane. This is Shane in Green Valley, Arizona.
Hey, Shane in Arizona. How are you?
I'm pretty good, and I really applaud your balanced approach about this global warming / climate change. And I've been saying for decades that, and I'm an electrical engineer, and I used to do infrared spectral analysis for military projects.
Mm-hmm.
And I was going to tell you that the carbon dioxide, that if you look at the amount of infrared radiation emitted by the sun in the same spectrum as the absorption spectrum of carbon dioxide, it's not the big driver that everybody's trying to make it out to be. And the bigger driver, believe it or not, is water vapor. And of course, that's what makes clouds, that gives us rain and all those kinds of things. So just like you were saying the other day, there's a whole collection of cycles that are involved, and this is a real complex issue, and I doubt humans have very much at all to do with this. Other than, here's the idea I want to throw out to you, is that it would be interesting to look at all of the concrete and all of the asphalt that occupies the surface area of the Earth, and you look at the temperature rise of concrete and asphalt and the fact that they act like a battery, they hold heat well into the night after the sunset.
Right.
That's a bigger contributor to seeing temperature rises because of, how much parking lots we're putting in and how much of the paradise, if you will, from the old song, we're taken out to put in the parking lots. And I think that is a big driver. Of course, you can't make any money off of telling people they can't build concrete or asphalt.
Right. And I really, really enjoy that take. And I had said, Shane, a couple of years ago, maybe longer on this show, this is just how my mind works, that the amount of roofs, right? Roofs, flat surfaces, and roads, and asphalt, and everything that it's also not only absorbing, but all of this man-made stuff is reflecting, right? And reflecting the sun rays back up into the atmosphere and creating issues that have nothing to do with pollution at all. It's the absorption and the reflection of heat, right? And I for some reason, I just feel like some people are just looking in the wrong directions here. There could be other things that are adding to this. I had said, and man, I got a flood of email from some people when I said, look, black absorbs heat, right? It does. Asphalt is absorbing heat. It only makes sense.
Kids, we're shiny chrome bumpers on cars.
Yeah,
really reflective, but not in the infrared. You put your hand on a chrome bumper, it'll leave your fingerprints on it. It'll burn you, and that's because it's absorbing an infrared, but it's reflecting in the visible light that you and I can see.
Right.
And so there's all kinds of things that make these kinds of things complex.
Yes, completely. And the more that we think we know, I'm serious, I just don't think we don't have a clue I really don't.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that we have gone through so many extinction periods caused by whatever, but the ice ages have been cyclical. The planet has heated and cooled and heated and cooled, and we're going through it right now. Kendra just mentioned one thing, and then I've got to let you go, Shannon. I'm going to get to some other phone calls. But she said something interesting that, it takes, a long time. We look at 10,500 BC, 11,000 BC. That ice age ended. It stopped one day. And there are, on top of that, there are the like woolly mammoths that have been found with fresh grass in their stomach. They were eating grass one day and frozen in minutes, seconds, flash frozen. Somebody just explained to me how that kind of stuff happens. Some of it does take 1,000 years, 100,000 years. I totally understand that. Of course it does. But there's other things that are absolutely instantaneous, and we don't know. We don't have a clue, man. We don't. One day we'll find out, and we'll find out the hard way. Hey, Shane, thank you for the phone call, my friend. Great phone call.
Oh, you bet.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jimmy.
Right back at you. That's what I'm talking about. All right, let's bounce over to the other phone bag. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling? You're live.
It's Eric, Jimmy. Can you hear me?
Yes, I got you. Who's calling?
It's Eric.
Hey, Eric. How are you?
I'm great. A quick comment. I would like to talk to you a little about the Secret Space Symposium if you're interested in hearing about what's down in Las Vegas. But I wanted to make a statement to anybody that's listening that is a positive statement. That I've been listening to you for about 2 years now. And this is coming from my heart. I am very grateful for what you and Rita do because you are bringing about an awakening, and it's inspired me, and it's caused me to want to go out and explore and research, and I'm learning a lot of things. And if it wasn't for you, I don't think I'd be motivated. And I want to thank you for that.
Well, thank you. I mean, thank you. It all comes down to you and the listeners.
We may not always agree on things, but that's okay because, Rita pointed out to me that we don't have to always agree because, we need to find that common ground. And anyway, I'm very happy that you have this show and, the Secret Space Symposium. It really opened my mind to a lot of things, and it's kind of changed my perspective. And what it taught me was that sometimes we think we know things, we think we're on the right path, and then suddenly we get information and we realize that maybe we're not right.
Well, that goes without saying. But let me say this, and everybody listening to me right now needs to hear these words. I don't want anybody to agree with me. I don't want if that's the world that is out there. That makes this show boring. Absolutely boring. There'd be no reason to have this show. If everybody agreed with me, why listen? People listen to this show because they don't agree with me, and that we raise issues, and that we have guests on this show that cause people to question their very own existence and their mindset in this world. That's what makes this show interesting. If everybody agreed with me, I would shut this thing down right now. I would shut it down. I want everybody to argue with me. I want everybody to just question everything and question the guest and question their own reality. Then we win, Eric, and that's really the truth. And
you know what? I agree.
It's the absolute bottom line with this show. If there are people out there, certainly critics, that are listening thinking, oh man, Jimmy's got everybody agreeing with, you know what, no, we wouldn't have an audience. That is the most boring radio ever. Oh, let's listen to Fade to Black because we just agree with everything that's going on. That is just dumb. It's dumb. You listen to this show because you don't agree with me, because you don't like me, because you don't agree with the guest, and you want to sit here and debate in your own mind about what is actually going on. That's how you learn. That's how you progress in life, and that is how you move forward. That's it. That's the only way.
You're right. You're 100% right.
Only way
and it
you
takes
expand.
time to realize that. I mean, people that are listening right now need to know that. I mean, again, I've been listening to you for 2 years, and I can totally remember the whole evolution of all my thoughts and feelings, and it takes time, and you just got to be patient. I mean, that's the key, I think, is the patience in the whole process.
Yeah, I love it. I love it when, I was looking at a bunch of tweets as the show was going down tonight, and one thing after another, just like, disagreeing, and what about this point, or what about that point, or what about this? You know what? I win. I friggin' win. I win. I love it, man. I love dissension amongst the troops, because that's causing the dialogue. That is causing people to talk, to question, and to wonder their very thoughts, where they thought that they were correct in life, right? And they hear something else that is opposing it. They want to step back. If they take the time to tweet or to post in a chat room or to shoot me an email, of which I got 50 during the show tonight, right? And taking the time to do that, this show is the victor. It's totally the victor. And I don't have to respond. I don't have to do anything. And it's a wonderful feeling. It's a total wonderful. If somebody, leaves this show tonight, I swear to God, this sounds bass-ackwards, but it is not. If somebody listens to this show and goes out and posts in social media or talks to a friend tomorrow, I was listening to this dude last night, man. I was listening to church, and he said this, man, and he was so wrong. If that causes dialogue and a conversation out there, this show wins. 100%. Knock out of the park. Just boom. And I didn't get that. Honestly, I got to admit it. I didn't get that in the beginning, but after listening to you for a while and getting to learn where you're coming from, I respect where you're coming from, and I just want to let you know that I appreciate you. Yeah, well, look, Eric. If we were, yes, Dan just posted, I disagree. Exactly. Look, if we're sitting around 5-6 of us, man, we're knocking back some beers, right, chain smoking some cigarettes, and we're talking about who's the greatest guitar player ever, who's the greatest band, and everybody in the room says, Tony Iommi is the greatest guitar player ever, right? And everybody agrees. Well, that's a boring conversation. Where does it go next? Right? You want to have 5 different answers so you can sit down and discuss it and figure out what is really going on here. And that is the truth. That is the truth. You cannot, when it comes to conspiracy theory or world governments or big banks and the UFO question or life after death and consciousness and enlightenment and all of this, if we all just agreed, what's the point? We need to get everybody's views here. And I say it all the time, man. Everything, man. Push it to the middle of the table. Let's debate it. Let's debate it. Let's talk about it.
You know what? And when I feel like you're disagreeing with me in my own consciousness, that inspires me to dig even deeper, and then I go deeper in the rabbit hole, so I learn more as a result.
That's exactly the point.
You got to realize you're inspiring that within me.
But that's exactly the point. If you came to me, Eric, and you said, you know what, there are blue avions. I get it, right? I'm just picking something, and I go, yeah, right, and I just say yes. Well, where does that go? Right? Where does that go? It doesn't make any sense. Now, if you come to me and you go, there are no blue avions, and I go, yeah, there are, right? Well, now we've got a reason to discuss things. I am open to everything. I don't have all of the answers. I don't have any answers, really. I am a depository of stuff, right? I'm a depository. I'm collecting for all of you. And I'm serious, man. I trip every single day. I trip out. I don't know what to think. And I love it. I'm trying to figure out this mess. I know that, what was I, the Valerian, right? And the City of 1,000 Planets. And I'm looking at that trailer, Eric, and I'm thinking to myself, so I go into Rita's office, And I said, you check this out. Luc Besson's got a new. And Rita sat back and she goes, you know what? One day we're going to find out that that's exactly how it is out there. And I want to be able to see that. And I'm totally with her. And that's just another thought. It's just another way of looking at things. But isn't it a wonderful place to be? To wonder and to question than to think that you have all the answers. No, don't do it. Don't go there. So, Eric, thank you for the phone call, man. I got to get out of here. So you had a good time.
Brother.
You had a good time. You had a good time in Vegas.
I loved it. There's lots to talk to you about. I'll maybe next time, but there's some great stories coming out of there.
Well, I gave you $20 to play on the double diamond. Did I get my money back?
I gave it to Hobby, and he won $120. So he said he owes you $100.
Okay, there you go. All right, man. Be safe out there. Welcome back.
All right, take care.
You got it. All right. What a great conversation tonight. Only sometimes you think. It's really the truth. It's really, it is just so funny. The most boring show ever would be the show that I wouldn't even know why somebody would do it. You're turning on the radio, you're doing this, and you're just tuning into something that you just agree with. That's just stupid. It's just stupid. I want you to argue with. I want to change your mind. I want to have you look at things. I just want to, that's it. That's it. Question everything. There is nothing like when you were 5 years old and you're walking down a path, maybe through an open field next to your house, and you're just walking and you see a butterfly or you see a bird or you see an animal and you just think, wow, that's wow. And you don't know anything about it. And now you want to figure it out. That's what life is about. Be 5 years old and question everything. It just makes life wonderful. With that, I have this story today that got posted up, and it's really, really cool. And it's over on my Facebook page. It might be on the radio page. An incredibly rare wooden container from the Bronze Age has been discovered on the Lachsberg Mountain in Switzerland, still with food in it. It's a lunchbox with detectable traces of the grains that the box contained. It was found at the summit of the Lachschen Pass, a transit through a glacier, at an elevation of about 2,650 meters above sea level. It's thought to have remained frozen since it was lost or abandoned by its owner 1500 BC, 3,500 years ago. Can you believe it? You got to check out the picture. It's a lunchbox. That's right. It's got barley in it. It's like one of the only times this has ever happened. So science can actually get some detailed information on food contents. Think about this for a second. It's absolutely incredible. Go over to our Facebook page and check it out. Check out the pictures. Totally incredible. Thank you to Peter Cameron. Thank you to Ken Knutson for yesterday. All right. Divergent Unity. The links are over at jimmychurchradio.com. This show is executive producers Rita Kamarian. Show is produced by Hill J. Paul, Mark D. Kovar, LJ3, Renee Jonas. Thank you, Dennis. Thank you, Bob. Announcers are Steve Harder, Gene Vitoa, Mark D. Kovar, Fady Badell, Webmaster Drew the Geek. Music, Doug Aldrich. Intro, Spaceboy, spaceboymusic.com. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network, and syndication is KGRA, The Planet. This broadcast is owned and copyrighted 2017 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black or the Game Changer Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Tomorrow night, Thursday night, Fader night. John Rappaport and his No More Fake Newsroom live. Until then, everybody be safe. Go Beckley Tappy.